From his Central Texas Command Center, deep behind enemy lines, the information war continues. It's Alex Jones and the GCN Radio Network.
We are going to plumb the depths of evil, the mindset of the elite. They don't just bring the narcotics in. They don't just push Ritalin and Prozac and other deadly drugs on kids and pregnant women and dangerous vaccines. They revel in corruption. They revel in who can be the most wicked, the most evil, the most psychopathic, the most sociopathic. Depleted uranium is used at proving sites all over the United States and all over the world. It's now being used in even smaller rifle munitions, not just Abrams tank Sabo rounds or Vulcan Warthog cannons in A-10s or in Hellfire missiles. It's being put into most munitions now. And the troops are dying. They've known for decades it's causing deformities, just like they knew in secret reports that have been declassified recently in the 60s that Agent Orange was going to literally fry the testicles of men and make them have deformed children. And, I mean, this is what's going on. We're going to talk to Dr. Doug Rokke here in a moment, who literally wrote the Army manuals for them on DU. They know what they're doing. They don't care about our troops. They say caring about the troops is putting them in all these fraudulent wars. So I want to get into what DU's doing. The Iraqi government's suing the U.S. over this, and we haven't talked to Dr. Rokke in over a year. I want to get all the latest developments from him. Going to Dr. Doug Rokke. What this evil system does is it uses its authority of the government and the system to do outrageous things and then just set the precedent. Government's caught drug dealing literally thousands of times. The drug war continues. But though people are starting to wake up, the government's caught engaged in all forms of corruption. The banks are robbing us. They just continue. The vaccine makers are caught maiming people. The corruption continues. The DU being used all over the world now and in proving grounds all over the U.S., so incredibly deadly. And they knew in the late 40s it was deadly. They knew in the 80s and in the early 90s when Dr. Doug Rokke wrote the book, the manual for the Pentagon and the Army. They knew how deadly it was. And now they just say, look, when we attack a military base in Iraq or somewhere, we move troops in a week later, have them move right in next to blast points with the DU. We have people without protective gear clearing up tanks and stuff we've destroyed with it, knowing it's going to really hurt them. And it's hurt Dr. Rokke. Many of his colleagues have died just involved in studying this stuff and in cleanups. So this gives you a window into the minds of the controllers. Dr. Doug Rokke is a depleted uranium expert, a BS in physics at the Western Illinois University, followed by his MS and PhD in physics and technology education at the University of Illinois. His military career has spanned 4 decades to include combat duty during Vietnam and Gulf War I. He served as a member of the 3rd U.S. Army Medical Command's Nuclear, Biological, Chemical, Teaching, Medical Response, and Special Operations Team, 3rd U.S. Army Captured Equipment Project Team, and with the 3rd U.S. Army Depleted Uranium Assessment Team, Gulf War, Operation Desert Storm. This thing's 5 pages long, folks. He was the U.S. Army's Depleted Uranium Project Director from 94 to 95. He developed the congressionally mandated education training manuals and wrote the U.S. Army Regulation 700-48. The U.S. Army PAM 700-48 and the U.S. Army's Command Task for DU Incidents. He is the DU expert, and they won't even allow the manuals to be given to officers and troops. They march them in to die. That's who your government is. So don't give me, when I'm against new wars, that I don't care about the troops. Killing our troops isn't taking care of them. And the murderers that run this system wrap themselves in our troops' heroism. I'm sorry I'm ranting, Dr. Rokke. And I want you to give out the websites. I literally didn't even get into your bio here. There's so much. But just to watch this evil set the precedent. And, what is it like for you to see this, the use of DU going wild?
Well, it's a continuous thing, considering that the United States Army friendly fire casualties from Operation Desert Storm, who became casualties as a direct result of the use of uranium munitions fired by military personnel against our own military personnel, to this day have still not got the medical care that I ordered as a theater health physicist, that was ordered by the theater medical commander, General D.Z. Zulus in Desert Storm, 1991, and it's still not being provided. And today, what bothers me the most is General Eric Shinseki is now the Secretary of the U.S. Department of Veteran Affairs, He wrote the original order mandating medical care, environmental cleanup, and training in 1993. He signed the Army regulation that I wrote that you already quoted, and we're not getting the care that we earned. It's real simple. They just do not want to provide medical care to U.S. military personnel because you have to understand the million or so casualties we have now from the nonsense of the Persian Gulf are not as a result of bullets and bombs. They are the result of toxic exposures, primarily uranium munitions, oil well fires, pesticides, hazardous materials, and everything else.
And blowing up Camisea, one of the biggest chemical weapons dumps in the world, and they know, and they just don't care.
But you have to understand, Camisea was only one that we blew up. We blew up 105 of them. We made the decision to blow up all the chemical and biological weapons facilities that Iraq possessed in December of 1990. And that was because we, the U.S. military, and specifically the U.S. Army, gave them anthrax, weaponized anthrax. So we had to destroy it in place. And if anybody has any question as to whether or not we did it or not, all they have to do is go to General Norman Schwarzkopf's autobiography. It doesn't take a hero, and go to page 390 and read about it. The arrogance of these guys is beyond comprehension.
And then they did the brain studies from the chemical weapons, killing troops en masse. When you talk about 1 million casualties, break that down for us.
Well, when we look at 1 million casualties, what we are seeing, that's right now, for example, CBS News 60 Minutes did a story on this on January 3rd. And they broadcast it. And God bless Paul Sullivan from Vets for Common Concern, Common Sense. He was the one that pushed that through. But what CBS News 60 Minutes confirmed on January 3rd in their story was delay, deny, and wait till I die. In other words, what we will do, the military, the Department of Defense, and the VA will deny any correlation between all the adverse health and environmental effects from all these toxic exposures, specifically uranium munitions, deny medical care for it, delay any treatment that you do get if you are lucky to get it, and just wait till you die. And the number of family members and everybody else and the soldiers involved and everybody, they never stop calling for help. It's every day. It never
and the deformities of the troops, their children, the deformities of the Iraqis, the Serbs, the Afghans, and I know you've got the numbers on this, but is it not an exponential increase year to year in the amount of DU being served out by armories?
Incredible amount. I mean, the United States gives this stuff away to anybody and everybody that will take it, and then we use it against all known targets. I mean, during Desert Storm, we use it against the armor effectively, all the tanks and the trucks and everything else. But we also shot up the bunkers and everything else. And then when we went into the Balkans in 1994, we shot up buildings and everything. Again, in the Balkans in 1991, this is in the old Yugoslavia. And Pekka Aviso, who was head of the United Nations, he actually told the U.S. Department of Defense to clean up all of these facilities they shot up. And then we continued Operation Iraqi Freedom and Enduring Freedom in Afghanistan and Iraq. We have literally, with uranium munitions, and I've got total video, total reports, we've got all of this stuff, no questions, photographs, shot up apartment buildings, hospitals, water treatment facilities, sewage sanitation plants, plus all the cars and trucks you could ever imagine. And this stuff is so extraordinarily effective. They talked about it originally when it was used for armor, but it's far more effective against a conventional house or an apartment building or a water facility than it is against a tank, because there ain't any tanks left to shoot.
And then our troops move into the areas they've blown to bits.
That's correct. Our troops move in, and then they're not even provided the mandatory respiratory and skin protection that is required by the U.S. Army regulation, and the U.S. Technical Bulletin provides all the specifications. But more important, the fact that our Department of Defense, the British Ministry of Defense, the Canadians and the Australians and the Israelis, I mean, you have to understand, those are the 5 countries that use this. They use it without hesitation, completely and totally disregard what the specifications are.
Stay there, Dr. Rokke. I mean, basically, you might as well, after our troops have had a war, line them all up and shoot them. And that's the equivalent of this. But when they come home and die, all the people singing God Bless America, they don't want to talk to them. Just get in the coffin, shut up, and die.